Hi guys, Drew here, back with another video, and in today's video, I'm going to be doing my standings predictions for the Eastern Conference. Just before I start the video, I just want to say, right before I started that video, I said, hey guys, Drew here, back with another video. I was so used to saying, back with another Growlers review as usual. They don't exist anymore. So, I mean, it's pretty sad, but we'll just move on with that and go with the standings predictions for the NHL. I will start with the Central because I feel like the Atlantic is the more interesting one. I feel like they may be the hardest division in the entire NHL. You can really go with any team to get first to eighth, honestly, with that division. But we'll start with the Central. So in eighth place, if you didn't watch that Western Conference video, I basically just go from down up. So I'll start with 8 and go to 1 for both divisions. And also, it is the top 4 teams that I have making the playoffs. So, say in the Central, I have 1, 2, 3, and 4. Those all are clinching. Fifth, in both divisions are not clinching. So it's only the top 4 in my brackets that I have making it. In the last video, it was I had a team in fifth that were making and a team in the fourth that wasn't. If that makes sense. I don't know if I explained it that well, but honestly, that's just how it is. So at 8, I have the Columbus Blue Jackets, and honestly, they lost Line to Montreal, and of course, we had the devastating news that Johnny Gaudreau had passed away. Those were two of their pretty good players, and won't be with them for this upcoming season. They did sign James Van Riemsdyk, though, to a pretty solid deal on $900K for him. He'll be going into Columbus with some pretty high expectations on that roster. Adam Fantilli is going to have a good sophomore season, I feel. Ken Johnson's another one that I could feel could break out. Another one's Kirill Marchenko. Zach Werenski, hopefully he's healthy for the whole year. And maybe Elvis Lincoln can play a little bit better, or maybe Daniil Tarasov can come out and steal the show in Columbus. But Columbus has just been put in jeopardy for the season, and I don't see them doing the greatest, honestly. At number 7, we had a team that really surprised us last season, and that's the Philadelphia Flyers. Honestly, they could do it again. I mean, who knows what Torts has cooking up his sleeves. But Philadelphia, obviously, you have the addition as Matvei Michkov comes over from Russia and will play for Philadelphia. And he's just going to probably have a pretty solid season. You also have players like Couturier, Forrester, Owen Tippett's another one to name. Maybe Cam York has a breakout season. Obviously, Ivan Fedotov's going to be coming in for his rookie season, so we'll see how he does on the goaltending side. Obviously, they lost Carter Hart due to personal reasons, but the team, I don't know how they're going to do this year. They honestly, I have them at 7th. They could go to 3rd this year. Honestly, that's the highest I could probably see them going, since the top 2 teams are pretty locked in, I feel like. But Philadelphia at 7, I hope no one's complaining, but I feel like there will be a few that are like, hey, why you have them at 7? Of course, they got to be higher than that. But that's just my list, so it's my opinion. At number 6, I do have another team that actually could be surprising a few people, based off the news they had yesterday, and that's the Pittsburgh Penguins. Sidney Crosby signed for a 2-year contract at $8.7 million for the AAV. I think that's a pretty good deal for Crosby, honestly. He'll be getting paid till he's 40 years old, and yeah, he's going to be wanting to win another cup in Pittsburgh. So he's going to try to get that team on their backs and try to push them into the Stanley Cup playoffs and maybe go farther in that playoffs, but only time can really tell. In my opinion, I don't think Pittsburgh's a playoff team. Maybe you have a guy like Michael Bunting that can push them, Crosby as well. Maybe Malkin gets a little bit better. Carlson on that back end is another great player in the name. Jari, he's a bit meh. May play for Canada at Four Nations face-offs, honestly. But Pittsburgh, I just have at 6 in my opinion. I don't see them making the playoffs this year. And at number 5, in my opinion, the most boringest team in hockey, the New York Islanders. They just, I don't know, they're a really key addition with Anthony Duclair. Don't get me wrong, Anthony Duclair is an awesome player, but is he good enough to carry the Islanders into the Stanley Cup playoffs? Maybe, but I don't know. I really don't think that'll happen, honestly. New York, obviously they have Matt Barzal, Bo Horvat, Brock Nelson, Noah Dobson, Ryan Pulock, Adam Pelech. There's a lot of star players to name on that Islanders squad, but then you also have those aging players that are like pretty washed and won't be doing much better. But I mean, they also have Ilya Sorokin in net for the Islanders. He's probably going to be having a pretty strong season depending on how the team plays on the ice, but I just personally have the Islanders at 5th. At number 4, we have a team that, like the Islanders, I found a bit boring last year, but they made a pretty few key additions, and that's the Washington Capitals. Honestly, I have pretty high hopes for Pierre-Luc Dubois heading into the season. Luc Dubois obviously had a struggling year in LA, but I can see him possibly being a 70-point player, honestly, if it goes right for him in Washington. Obviously, Alex Ovechkin is going to want to be breaking that Wayne Gretzky record, so he'll be scoring a pretty decent amount of goals, but you did notice last year that he was kind of on the decline, so will that be a bit of an issue for him this year? Maybe, but we'll see. We'll see what happens with this Washington squad. They did lose Darcy Kemper, but they brought in Logan Thompson. Him and Charlie Lindgren will be the tandem. And one thing that people haven't really recognized, Charlie Lindgren and Logan Thompson are both catching with the right hand. I think they're the only tandem in the NHL right now that's only catching with the right hand. Not much people are recognizing that because there isn't much goalies that have their right hand as they're catching. But Logan Thompson and Charlie Lindgren are two goalies that do have that as their catcher. But yeah, so Washington, hopefully a good season for them, and I just wish the best for those Washington fans out there. And number 3, there was a few people that I actually really liked their offseason. I don't think that so much. That's Carolina Hurricanes. They obviously lost Brady Shea and Brett Pesce to free agency. They did bring in Shane Gostisbehere and Sean Walker. Is that better than Brett Pesce and Brady Shea? I don't really think so. Sean Walker obviously had a really good year in Philadelphia and Colorado. But will he be the player that he was back there? I don't really know. He could be a player like he was in LA, which wasn't that great. He was solid, but he just didn't get much playing time. Will he be a better player in Carolina? Carolina seems to have some pretty solid players, so possibly. Obviously, Jesper Foss won't be playing the whole season. He had a big injury and won't be playing for the entire season. So I wish the best for Foss though. You also have some younger guys like Seth Jarvis, Jesperi Kotkaniemi that will be wanting to have some possible breakout years. We'll only see what can happen with them. Jacob Slavin, obviously, on that back end is going to be doing pretty solid. And then you have Frederick Anderson. Is he too old to be still playing in the NHL? Well, no, I don't think so. But will he be aging? Probably. But it's okay because you have Pyotr Kochetkov as your backup. So he'll probably be having a strong year. And maybe the Carolina Hurricanes will. As who will they play in the first round, you may ask? I got the New Jersey Devils in second. Honestly, New Jersey's, it's a bit of a gamble taking them in the playoffs this year. Obviously, they missed last year, but they made some really nice additions this year. One to name Jacob Markstrom. Definitely going to help that goaltending issue that New Jersey had last year. Looks like the tandem is going to be him and Allen, and so yeah, that will be a pretty solid tandem. But then you obviously have that awesome top 6. They still got to re-sign Dawson Mercer, obviously Newfoundlander, born and proud, but they have Jack Hughes, Luke Hughes, Nico Hischier is another one to name. Dawson Mercer, they gotta re-sign him though. And then Dougie Hamilton will be back healthy on that back end, so hopefully he's healthy for the whole year. And I have New Jersey finishing second in the Metro Division. At number 1, I have the New York Rangers. Honestly, the New York Rangers, in my opinion, are pretty good. Yeah, I have them possibly making the Stanley Cup Finals versus the Dallas Stars. But New York, yeah, they're loaded. I think they're going to be really good this year. Alexis Lafreniere is only going to get better, and we'll see how he can do this year. K-Andre Miller is another that I feel like could have another strong year. Adam Fox, of course, and then that top 6, Zibanejad, Panarin, Kreider. There's a lot to name in that New York group, and I have New York finishing first in the Metro Division, which would mean they would play the Washington Capitals once again in the first round. Obviously, New York swept against the Washington Capitals in the first round last year, but we could see what happens, honestly. And now we move to the Atlantic Division, and at number 8, it hurts me. It hurts me. And when I say that, you probably know what team I'm going for. And that is the Montreal Canadiens at number 8. As much as I kind of want to be Homer and put them higher, it's just the teams above them are like on another level than Montreal is. But most people are saying give Montreal a year and they can get into that maybe Detroit range that Detroit's had last year possibly. But it's have the Habs at 8. You'll also be having some rookies. Lane Hudson's one of the name. Will Logan may you be playing? Possibly, but possibly not as well. But Montreal, Joshua Waugh is another one. He'll be probably having a strong breakthrough year with the Habs. But then that top six, you obviously added Patrick Laine, as I said earlier. He's going to try to be pushing for possibly 40 goals. Maybe. I don't know. You also got Yuri Slafkovsky. Hopefully, he plays the full season like he did in that second half last year, possibly putting up like 60 points. Like, that would be unbelievable for Slav. And they got Suzuki and Caulfield, of course. That will be probably lighting it up for Montreal. And then at number 7, I have a team that I also really like. And the team after that one I actually kind of like as well. But at number 7, I have the Ottawa Senators. Obviously, Ottawa, I mean, I don't really know what's going on with them right now. They were expected to have a really solid season last year, but it just didn't happen for them. But will it happen this year? Well, as I said, I have them at 7, so probably not. They drafted Carter Yakimchuk in the 2024 NHL draft. Don't really think that was a good decision by Ottawa, in my opinion. I feel like there could have been another guy like Z Boyum or someone else like that that could have gone into that Ottawa group and possibly done really well for them. But Ottawa, obviously, you have Brady Tkachuk that's going to just be that goon on the ice and scoring as well. One of those players that you hate to play against but love to have on your team. He'll possibly be having a pretty solid season. But I feel like one key piece that I feel like may have a really good season is Shane Pinto. Honestly, he only played half the season last year due to his suspension after gambling illegally. But he'll probably be playing full season this year. And I feel like he's going to have a really solid season, honestly, in my opinion. Drake Matheson's another player to name that he could possibly be doing really well. Jake Sanderson and Thomas Chabot on that back end will be doing really well. In that addition, in net, as Linus Olmark will be joining the squad this year, he's probably going to be doing really well, as you saw his numbers were really well in Boston, but I just don't know if it's enough to get Ottawa over that hill into the Stanley Cup playoffs. At number 6 is another team that I actually kind of want to make the playoffs this year, and there are a few people that have them in their brackets to make the playoffs, and that's the Buffalo Sabres. And as I said, this is one team that I'm probably going to be cheering for this year. Buffalo, obviously, they've been on that very long playoff drought, over 10 years now, and it will continue in this year, in my opinion. Hopefully they do make the playoffs. Hopefully they do, but I just don't see it happening. The teams that are ahead, just you read the lineups, and those lineups of the 5 teams ahead of Buffalo, just better in my opinion. They do got Devin Levi going to be coming in. Hopefully he plays a bit better than he did last season. And then of course you got Tage Thompson in the front end, and then like that stacked deep pair like Rasmus Dahlin, Bowen Byram, Owen Power. They're going to be doing great for Buffalo, and I just have them finishing 6th. I have them finishing for a wild card spot. Honestly, they're gonna be really close in that wild card race, but they just don't make it, in my opinion. And at number 5 is a team that's been making the playoffs, it seems like forever now, but I don't have them making the playoffs this year. You might think this is like extremely controversial. I don't really think so. That's the Tampa Bay Lightning. Obviously, they lost Steven Stamkos, signed with the Nashville Predators. Brought in Jake Gensel. Will he be better than Stamkos? You could say so, but you could also not say so. But I mean, Tampa, I feel like they're going to have a strong year, but will it be strong enough? Will Vasilevsky be the goalie he was last year, which was absolutely terrible? Will he be that? And if he is, I could see Tampa finishing 5th. Kucherov obviously is going to have an unreal season. And then they got Hedman on the back end, Point as well. Obviously, trade away Mikhail Sergachev. Don't really know why they did that. But they brought in J.J. Moser, Connor Geekie. Hopefully, they do have some pretty solid seasons for Tampa this year. And at number 4 is another team that I really like in this division. Is the Detroit Red Wings. They finally make the playoffs after like a very long time. And the Yeiser plan is finally over, and Detroit finally gets into the playoffs. Obviously, they just re-signed Raymond yesterday to a really good deal, 8 times 8 on that deal for Raymond. He's probably going to be having a really good season this year, as he almost carried Detroit into the playoffs last year if it wasn't for John Tortorella. But Detroit this year, they still got re-signed Mort Seider, and hopefully they do, because they're gonna be looking for some pretty good. They're gonna be probably having a pretty good season this year. And honestly, on the front end as well, they got Vladimir Tarasenko, Dylan Larkin. Now they said Lucas Raymond's another one to name. And Alex DeBrincat. They're just a stacked team. And will they be stacked enough to make the playoffs? Yes, I have them making the playoffs this year. At number 3 is my least favorite team in the NHL, and probably some of your guys' favorite NHL team. That's the Toronto Maple Leafs. I have them finishing third. Honestly, the next 3 teams, like Toronto, and then the 2 teams else to name, I could honestly see them finishing. Any of them could finish first, in my opinion. Toronto, they obviously lost a few players in free agency. Tyler Bertuzzi is one to name. Pretty unfortunate for them. They did re-sign Max Domi. They lost Elias Samson. I mean, Leafs fans are probably happy with that. But they also added some key additions like Anthony Stolarz, Yanni Hakanpää, re-signed Nick Robertson. That was a pretty good deal. Oliver Ekman-Larsson's going to be coming in. They got a few. Chris Tanev is another one to name. They brought in a lot of good players, but is it good enough to make the playoffs? Yeah, it is, in my opinion. And who will they be playing in the first round? You're probably glad that it isn't this one team. At number 1, I had the Boston Bruins, and at number 2, I had the Florida Panthers. I'll talk about Boston in a second. We'll start with Florida. Obviously, Stanley Cup champions. Will that Stanley Cup hangover happen? That's the only reason I really had them at second. They did lose a few pieces. Brandon Montour's gone. That's a really big piece. They were able to re-sign Sam Reinhart, and they did bring in some pretty cool pieces. Adam Boqvist is one to name. Nate Schmidt they also brought in. And Sergei Bobrovsky, will he be the goalie who he was last year? Probably. And they'll have Spencer Knight coming in for his full rookie season as the backup. Hopefully he plays pretty solid, because I've been kind of waiting for him to join the NHL. I remember he was like a really high overall in NHL 24. So will he be that backup goalie? Will he be really good? We'll only wait to see. And this Florida team, maybe they go back to back, honestly. I feel like they can do really well. But at number 1, I had the Boston Bruins, and it hurts as a Habs fan to put them at number 1. And there are some people that may be like, why are you putting it at 1? They lost to Florida in the playoffs last year. Boston added some awesome pieces this year. Nikita Zadorov, honestly. Will that $5 million contract for 5 years be a pain? Probably, but still, he's phenomenal physically, and he was really good for the Canucks. Will he be the player he was for the Canucks for Boston? We'll only wait to see what can happen with that. Is that Elias Lindholm contract a little bit bad? Yeah, but if he can play like he did in Calgary, that will be an unreal contract. Brad Marchand will also be playing and being that rat that he is on the ice. David Pastrnak, obviously, going to be having a pretty solid season, I'm expecting, from him. There's a lot of players to name. And they also got to get Jeremy Swayman re-signed. If they don't get Swayman re-signed, we could switch Florida and Boston together. But that tandem right now is looking to be Jonas Korpisalo and Brandon Bussi. So hopefully they do get Swayman re-signed. They have about $8.5 million in cap space. So hopefully they are able to get that done. But I have Boston finishing at first. What do you think about my standings predictions for both the Pacific, Central, Metro, and the Atlantic? Just drop your comments down below. Think about my predictions. If you didn't watch the other one, make sure to go watch that one after you finished watching this one. That's it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. If you do, you can like this video. You can subscribe if you really liked it. We're on the road to 300 subscribers. If you can hit that subscribe button down below, I'd really appreciate it. That's it for today's video, guys, and I'll talk to you all again. I think the next video will be Saturday, possibly. So we'll talk to you all again soon.